Welcome to Whisper and Wonder, where soft stories meet soft voices. You're listening to Hello, How Long Has This Been Going On? Episode 2. Let's begin. Episode 2. Staying up late feels great, until morning hits like a funeral pyre. The cost of breaking his biological clock was a sluggish, groggy workday with a head full of fog. Tao Jay dragged himself out of bed, brushed his teeth and ate like a sleepwalker, and floated into the office like a ghost. By noon, he still had no idea what he was actually doing. Luckily, the game update had just gone live yesterday. For the next few days, things would slow down. There were no new requirements from the planning team, so Tao Jay could finally slack off without guilt. He had already forgotten most of what he'd talked about with the HR guy last night. Something about complimenting each other and exchanging "you're a good person" cards. In any case, they'd gotten to know each other a bit, which made future conversations easier, or so Tao Jay consoled himself. After lunch, he laid his head on the desk for a nap, and only then did his mind finally clear. He pulled out his phone, opened the app, and scrolled up to the messages from the night before. At some point during the chat, he had just vanished. The rest of the conversation was the HR guy talking to himself. Feeling a little embarrassed, Tao Jay took the initiative to send a message. "Tao. Good afternoon. I accidentally fell asleep last night. I didn't mean to ghost you. Tao. I finish work at 6. Have dinner by 8, and go to bed around 10:30. If it works for you, we can chat anytime between 8 and 10. He waited a while, but there was no reply. Maybe the guy was busy. Tao Jay let it go and opened up the little green bird IT hub to check out the latest trending threads. Focused on the screen, he didn't notice the shadow that flickered past behind him. On the forum, his handle was also Tao. He occasionally posted about technical topics or replied to help threads. His answers were always sharp and to the point. His solutions practical and easy to follow. He never acted high and mighty, and he responded patiently even to the most convoluted follow-ups. Gradually, he built quite a following. Now, whenever he posted, a flock of fans would comment just to say they were here for the selfie. So unless he hit a technical wall himself, he mostly stayed quiet. Content to lurk. The site displayed a list of online members at the bottom, not something most people paid attention to. But a few project-hungry folks kept a close eye on him. One such persistent admirer had even written a script that flashed a red alert across all their devices the moment Tao Jay logged in. Sure enough, within a minute, he received a private message. "Gua. Ah, Tay, you're here. It's been 7 days, 8 hours, and 3 minutes since you were last online. Tao. Hello. Gua. Have you been swamped with work? Is your evil boss squeezing the life out of you? Gua. Quit your job and work with me. Sunlight, villas, afternoon tea. The boss is hot and obedient. You even get equity from day one. Bouquet. Tao Jay couldn't help but laugh. He'd met Gua back when he posted a solution on the forum. They clicked over some technical problems, and it turned out Tao Jay had dabbled in Gua's area of interest in a past life. After a few deep dives, Gua had declared him a kindred spirit and had been trying to recruit him for projects ever since. Truth be told, Tao Jay's current job was underwhelming. The games they made were basic reskins of existing models, hardly challenging. But he had chosen this company precisely because of that. After the mess with the Huo group targeting his last employer, he had deliberately picked a small, uninspired firm with no real prospects, hoping to stay off the radar. Tao. I'm touched by your persistence. But you already know my answer. Gua. No, I just got rejected by a girl yesterday. Can't you at least show me some mercy? Don't reject poor little Gua 2QAQ. Tao. My condolences. Tao. Still, I have to ask, can the company avoid seeking funding for 2 years? Can I, as a founding member, avoid contact with anyone outside the core team? Can I work remotely, never showing my real identity? Tao Jay took responsibility seriously. If some soul-sucking company got acquired by the Huo group, he could walk away with zero guilt. But if it was a startup he'd helped build from scratch, and it got a golden ticket because of him, he couldn't just kill the opportunity for everyone else. That wouldn't be fair, even if he'd rather run than face what might come. Gua. Ah, why are you like this? Why say no to money? Gua. Who even makes these demands? Even introverts would call this extreme. Gua. Be honest. Do you hate the rich? Do your hands itch with rage every time you see a VC? Tao. No, I just hate Huo. Gua. Huo? Like, disaster? Is that a superstition or something? Tao. You wouldn't understand. Tao. This is not the kind of pressure a man my age should be under. JPG. At that very moment, Huo Ryan, freshly awakened from a nap, sneezed. He rubbed his nose and stretched lazily under the warm covers, savoring the lingering sweetness of last night's dream. Since being bombarded by a horde of love-struck men, Huo Ryan hadn't had a good night's sleep in a long time. For the past month, every time he came to work, there'd be someone in the lobby clutching flowers. Even his assistant would blush beet red when he walked into the office. Yesterday, he'd skipped work to hide at home. But even then, someone had tried to show up at his door with arms wide open. Huo Ryan was so shocked he nearly lost his soul. And it wasn't just when he was awake. Every night he tossed and turned, haunted by sleepless anxiety. And when he finally managed to drift off, he would dream of strange men murmuring sweet nothings into his ear. More than once, he jolted awake with a full-body shudder, heart racing like he'd just seen a ghost. Huo Ryan, drained in both body and spirit, was visibly fading by the day. Eventually, he turned to his childhood best friend, the one person he trusted most, to pour out his misery. Hoping for some kind of solution, his friend fell silent for a long moment, then said quietly, "Would you ever consider being with one of them?" Huo Ryan blinked. "Of course not, I don't even like men." His friend added softly, "So, that means you wouldn't consider me either, right?" Huo Ryan. Huo Ryan. From that day on, Huo Ryan dared not bring up any of it to people he knew. Who knew what hidden feelings might come to light with just a careless word? After much hesitation, he decided to turn to the mysterious realm of the internet for help. He opened a search engine and carefully typed, "What to do if you're being pursued by the same sex?" And that's how he met Director Tao from Jinbei City's 7th Psychiatric Hospital, a kind, empathetic doctor who seemed to radiate understanding. Huo Ryan had originally intended to lay everything out clearly: his name, his job, his living situation. He'd never sought medical advice online before. But surely, real psychiatrists needed to know their patients well. But Dr. Tao gently warned him not to reveal any personal information online. After a moment's thought, Huo Ryan deleted his carefully written introduction. He should respect Dr. Tao's advice. Maybe that was just how online consultations worked. Being unfamiliar with internet culture, Huo Ryan approached it with cautious reverence. They'd chatted late into the night, with Huo Ryan pouring out all his fears and frustrations, confessing how on edge his life had become. He'd heaped praise on the selfless Dr. Tao. But at some point, the doctor had stopped replying. Maybe Dr. Tao had gotten tired of him. The worry itched at him. Huo Ryan jumped out of bed, threw on some clothes, rushed into the study, and booted up his computer to log into the messaging app. Technically, his antique button phone could also install the app, but the screen was tiny. And typing was a nightmare. He'd never used it for chatting. To him, a phone was for calls and texts. There it was, an unread message from Dr. Tao. "Tao. Good afternoon. I accidentally fell asleep last night. I didn't mean to ghost you. Tao. I finish work at 6. Have dinner by 8, and go to bed around 10:30. If that works for you, we can talk sometime between 8 and 10. The message had arrived half an hour ago. Huo Ryan let out a breath of relief and quickly replied, "HR. Just woke up. Slept well last night, thanks to Dr. Tao's comforting words. HR. I'm usually free. So whenever it's convenient for Dr. Tao works for me." He had just returned from a trip around the world. 2 months ago, his father, Huo Jason, insisted he start working at the family company. There had been a project in Jinbei City he was supposed to follow up on. But for some reason, it had been indefinitely postponed. Now, Huo Ryan was a vice president at Huo Group in name only. He had no real responsibilities. His father's advice was to network more within the circle. That translated to endless cocktail parties, social clubs, and golf courses, a life so dull he was drowning in it. And on top of it all, He'd somehow attracted a swarm of admirers, men, mostly, that he wanted nothing to do with. He regretted it all deeply. If he'd known things would turn out this way, he would have begged his dad to fast-track the Jinbei City project just so he could escape this hellhole. A ping from the PP app pulled him out of his thoughts. Tao. That's good to hear. Quality sleep is very important. Tao. If there's anything you'd like to talk about, feel free to message me. I'll reply as soon as I can. Tao. My lunch break is over. Time to get back to work. Tao. I love my job. Work makes me happy. JPG. Reading those messages, Huo Ryan felt a twinge of guilt. Dr. Tao was such a bright, grounded person, passionate about his work and always willing to lend a hand even off the clock. HR. Thank you. Dr. Tao. HR. Go you son. Dr. Tao's PP status changed to busy. Huo Ryan didn't want to bother him anymore, so he pulled up last night's conversation instead. Dr. Tao hadn't said much, but every word carried genuine warmth and care. It had stayed with him. When he got to the part where Dr. Tao talked about his orientation, Huo Ryan cringed at his own reply. It had been honest, yes, but also painfully awkward. He felt he'd failed to express the respect and support he truly meant. What's the cool way to say, I support you, these days anyway? Just then, a crisp female voice rang out from the doorway. What are you smiling at? You look like a creep. Startled, Huo Ryan looked up to find his younger sister, Huo Sophie, standing there. She was 3 years his junior. Could you at least ring the bell? He scowled. Always sneaking in like a burglar. And what's a creep supposed to mean? Nothing, just means you're looking hot. She waved a hand dismissively. Ever heard of surprise inspections? If I gave you a heads up, I wouldn't catch you in the act. Huo Ryan smirked, unabashed. And what, exactly, would you be catching? This face? It's obviously handsome, no secrets here. A creep is a pervert. A sleazeball. A total weirdo. Huo Sophie replied sweetly. And by the way, what's with the mess downstairs? I swear I saw 2 wine glasses. Don't tell me you had some kind of secret rendezvous behind your darling sister's back. That startled him. Last night had been a disaster. Someone had shown up unexpectedly, armed with a bottle of wine. It had taken him ages to kick the guy out. Exhausted, he hadn't bothered cleaning up. And now Sophie had seen the aftermath. If she found out the details, she'd never let him live it down. He straightened his expression. Can't I enjoy a quiet drink by myself? Ever heard of raising a glass to the moon? Making 3 with my own shadow. Maybe if you spent less time on your phone and more time reading, you'd learn a thing or two from your wise older brother. Tell you what, she offered, her voice sly. I'll get you the newest orange smartphone. It's way more fun than books. Once you fall for it, you'll never say that line to me again. You won't corrupt me, he declared with mock righteousness. Even if Dad already admitted he was wrong about it, I've grown used to life this way. Don't feel like I've missed out on anything. That, actually, was true. He wasn't just trying to be argumentative. Back when Huo Ryan was a kid, the Huo family was already quite well off. Any new gadget that came out, he could get his hands on it quickly. Fancy toys, imported snacks, even those pricey early computers, his father, Huo Jason, never hesitated to indulge him. But when colored screen multifunctional phones hit the market, Huo Jason, like many parents, grew worried about addiction. In reality, Huo Ryan had always been a self-disciplined kid. Mischievous, yes, but with a solid sense of boundaries. In some ways, more mature than most adults. Still, anxious parents rarely see things clearly. And with Huo Jason constantly tied up in work, he had little time to really engage with his children. Communication at home was minimal. So when he heard stories about other kids staying up late glued to their phones, flunking out of school, ruining their eyesight, he panicked. He started setting strict screen time rules and giving Huo Ryan long lectures at every opportunity. Huo Ryan, young and stubborn, didn't get it. What did other kids' bad habits have to do with him? Why couldn't his own father trust him? Why did he have to pay for mistakes he never made? So he made a promise. From then on, he would only use his phone for calls and texts, just the bare minimum to stay connected. A phone was a tool, and he wouldn't let a tool control him. He hoped, in doing so, his father might finally take a moment to understand him. At first, Huo Jason didn't take it seriously. But 10 years passed, and Huo Ryan stuck to his word. Even in a world glued to screens, where even middle-aged dads had caved to smartphone culture, he still used the old flip phone his father had once guarded so fiercely. Whenever he needed to use the internet, he'd simply work on his computer, efficiently and with purpose. He never wasted time online. The result? He ended up with far more free time than his peers. After finishing his studies, he picked up sports and traveled the world. He learned bits and pieces of several languages and met people from all walks of life. Huo Ryan hadn't completely shut himself off from human interaction. He had an account on PP. Just like everyone else, it was just that he only used it on his computer. Unlike a phone, the computer couldn't be carried around for instant chatting. Over the years, plenty of girls had reached out to him from time to time. But because his reply times were random, sometimes taking hours, those who only wanted to chat idly gradually lost interest. As a result, he unintentionally avoided quite a few potential entanglements with women. With time, a rumor began circulating in their social circles. Huo Ryan had the looks, ability, and family background, and he was perfectly fine in face-to-face interactions. But when he wasn't physically present, he came off cold and distant to women. His messages were stiff, humorless, like a 50-year-old Huo Jason texting on his behalf. Huo Ryan. He felt his life was happy and fulfilling. So what if he didn't know some trivial, popular things? But now Huo Jason had flipped the script, worried that his son was falling behind his peers, and had taken to sending his sister to persuade him to drop his old-school mindset and embrace modern life. Faced with a brother who was immune to reason, Huo Sophie dragged a chair over and sat down with a deep sigh. So what? You're never planning to date again? Those words instantly put Huo Ryan on alert. Why? What's that got to do with dating? Dating means chatting. Huo Sophie snapped, exasperated. Who talks to their boyfriend through a laptop every day? It's so sweet to lie in bed at night and fall asleep while talking on the phone. Huo Ryan looked genuinely puzzled. But if you're dating, you can just meet in person. If things go well, get married. If you're married, you can live together. Even if you don't, you can call. What's the difference? You're so annoying. Huo Sophie slammed her hands on the table. People don't always see each other right away. And when your girlfriend wants to talk to you, how is she supposed to reach you anytime? She can call. No calling. Huo Sophie nearly shouted, banging the table harder. You absolute single dummy. The best part of being in a relationship is sharing the little things. Like, lunch was great today. Or, the flowers downstairs just bloomed and looked beautiful. No one's going to call just to say that. It'd be weird, but couples talk about those things all the time. Which is why you need phones for casual, spontaneous chatting. She had found her argument, and her gaze turned sympathetic. Of course, I know you wouldn't understand that kind of joy since you're single. Haha. Huo Ryan, long used to his sister's teasing, simply curled his lip and ignored her. Still, her words sparked a thought. Dr. Tao had told him he could reach out anytime if he needed to talk. And there really might be moments when he'd need support. He couldn't go digging out a computer every time something happened, right? He didn't have Dr. Tao's phone number. They didn't even live in the same city. The only way they communicated was through PP. Mulling it over, Huo Ryan said casually, even if I got a new phone, I wouldn't need you to buy it for me. I'll get it myself. Huo Sophie's eyes lit up. No way. Do you actually have a crush? How old is this person? Got any pictures? Where'd you meet? She paused, then smirked. Wait, considering your current reputation, I should ask first, guy or girl? The comment hit a nerve, and Huo Ryan exploded. Huo Sophie, are you looking for trouble? Sophie grinned mischievously. Oh, I see. That reaction? Classic guilt. Now I get it. When I walked in and you were smiling like a lovesick weirdo? It all makes sense. So tell me, who's the lucky boy that's made our caveman Mr. Huo Ryan step into the modern world? What nonsense. He's a serious professional. Huo Ryan blurted out before he could stop himself. Oh, so you've got a thing for men in uniform. She teased, eyes gleaming. We really are siblings. I love pilots. That uniform? So hot. Where do you even learn this garbage? Huo Ryan was completely flustered. This is serious business. He's a department head, a director. So, an old man. Lame. Huo Sophie instantly lost interest. I thought you were finally waking up. Seeing her face full of disappointment, Huo Ryan suddenly felt oddly indignant. Dr. Tao knew his way around the internet. He didn't seem old at all. He suddenly remembered that PP had a user profile section. While Sophie was distracted, he quietly clicked open Dr. Tao's info page. Age: 26. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Hello. How long has this been going on? If this story made you smile, feel, or pause, consider subscribing to Whisper and Wonder. New episodes every week. Until next time, stay soft and keep wondering.